Well, hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in this week. Excited about my guest this week. I'm going to have my very good friend Kathryn on, and we met in 2019 on the Harmony of the Seas cruise ship on the Spirit Heart cruise, and we've had a really good friendship since then. And I'm going to tell you a little stories throughout the show about how she helped me heal. And she is an animal medium, and that's partially how we met. She channeled my passed on dog Max and Molly, and so we'll talk about that during the show. But it really helped me reconnect with his spirit and soul, and found out that he basically sits next to me all the time. And I guess he kind of annoyed her a little bit trying to get to me. So he was like, come on, when are we going to talk to him? And so, which was very much his personality. So welcome to the show, Kathryn and Daniela. Hi, how are you? So,
hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. I was just
and hi, Daniela.
Yeah, she already said hello on the comments here, so we'll just put that up. She's, so I was just telling the story about how Max was, being his normal self that he was in life, and a little pushy.
Yeah, just a little bit. But that was the fun part about it. I mean, when you first started talking about him, he was like, pawing at my leg, like, hey, it's me, he's talking about. So then when you said you wanted, to get together or whatever, then he was like, yeah, let's get together. So, yeah. So he's a great, he has he's just fun. He's fun, he's spunky, and just a gentle soul.
It's one thing about his personality that was really great is he used to do this wiggle. He'd wiggle his butt, because he didn't have a tail. He had a nub.
Right.
And, back up he'd growl at them, and they'd be like, why is he growling? Keep in mind, he was a 125-pound dog. And so he'd growl at them. Then if they didn't know him, they would get a little nervous. They would be like, why is he growling at me? And I'm like, he wants you to scratch his butt. And so and basically that was what it's all about. Pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me.
Right.
Much like he wasn't there. But, one of the reasons why I wanted to come on and talk to you and have you come on the show is that had actually gone, that was 2018. So that was about when he transitioned. So it was about a 5-year period, maybe actually about a 6-year period, where I'd lost my cat, my mother, and I'd lost my dog Molly, and Max, one of my closest friends. He was only 28 years old, and so it was literally like a 5 to 6 years of people, transitioning and beings transitioning out of my life. So it was really healing for me able to connect with them, even though I can hear my mother. You had actually brought her forward as well. So, you're not just an animal medium, you are a medium. And so, but what got you into, when was the first time you noticed this type of work and being able to connect with animals and, especially in spirit?
Yeah. Well, I know that I always wanted to. Like, I can remember being a kid and, in cartoons, the animals always talk. And my parents always said that I had like a really, I don't know but my imagination was like big. And so my first friends were animals, really. And then I didn't really actually hear an animal like really talk to me until, let's see. I always go by how long it was, like, for my kids. So my youngest was a baby, probably a toddler, and he's 11 now. And I was driving down the street in my neighborhood, and it's a main street that runs through like 3 or 4 neighborhoods and then dumps you out onto a main street. And there was a guy walking his golden retriever, and I had just dropped my older 2 off at school, and I'm driving along, and I hear, "I'm so happy!" And I literally stop in the road. Like, I stopped in the middle of the road. One should not stop in the middle of the road when driving. But anyway, I stopped in the middle of the road, and I'm looking all around, like, what is going on here? And there's this golden retriever on the sidewalk just walking along. And I looked at him, and he goes, "Yeah, that's me." I mean, it was so crazy. I was like, I must need more sleep. Maybe I need to drink another cup of coffee. Like, I was just, it was just a really bizarre situation at first, and so I went home and I had talked to another intuitive, people and that kind of thing like that. And they're like, no, that's a real thing. Like, people can talk to animals. And so it just that was probably my first time with it. And then it just seemed like the more animals I was around, the more they would start to just sort of gravitate towards me. And it's pretty funny even now, like if I'm inside or the door's open, it seems like the animals know where my house is because they will just stand in my yard. If they're walking by with their human, they'll be like, I'm here. Where are you? Yeah. So.
By the way, hi, Linda. Just want to say, I don't know if you remember Linda and Stan from the cruise.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, they're on.
Yeah.
So, so one of the things, it's interesting you should mention that because mine was trees, and at first, even though I'd been in this world for a long time, I was like, I'm actually hearing trees talk to me. I must be crazy. and it was it really got pronounced over a time when there was a tree that Max would walk by and he'd always want to pee on it. And so I thought to myself, Max, quit peeing on these people's tree. It was this big, huge tree, and I heard it's okay. I'm like,
right? Yeah.
Nobody was outside, so when that tree got used to us walking by every day. So sometimes if I wanted to cut our walk short, I'd go down another street that was close, make it quicker to get to our house. And Max, you'd hear the tree like, "Where are you going?"
Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
And so I'd be like, I guess we're going to walk by you. That's
right. That's fabulous.
And so it's one of those things where that's where I started connecting back to nature. And so it really started getting us into this place of really understanding that there's more to this world than what we feel on the surface, which is what you experience with animals. And and I could just see this golden retriever going, I'm so excited.
I know, it was really funny. It was really, really funny. So, I had done like the energy work and such before. So like you say, I was familiar with energy and that kind of thing like that. But yeah, it was really strange to have this dog talk to me. So probably like with the tree, but that would be really cool to talk to a tree.
I imagine that I had a dog many years ago when I was a kid, and I picked him up off the street, and he was I think I got him when he was like 1 or 2 years old, and he was with me for 12, 13 years after that. And I remember I felt a lot of guilt because I felt like in the later years that he was around me, because I was a teenager at this point in time, and then in my early 20s, that I thought that maybe he thought that I didn't love him anymore. And this is a natural human thing for people to go through. And then I'm sure that these animals come forward and talk to people and let them know that I always knew you loved me. You were just going through whatever you were going through, or I'm sure that that's happened before, and it's very healing for people. So
for sure.
What are some other things like it's imagine it's like human beings. You lose your mom or your dad or your husband or your wife or your children or whatever, any loved one. It's probably very healing that these partners or these friends, I guess, come into our lives for a very short amount of time.
Like a companion. That's what I think is so hard is people, especially if they've never had a pet with them for a long period of time like you had, they become your companion. They're with you in ways that humans aren't. And they understand you in a way that humans don't. Because some people are really good about talking to their pets, but they can tell them everything. They know their darkest secrets, or they, or the funniest stories, and they're always happy to listen. They're some of the best listeners. So, and when you don't have that anymore, it's tough.
Yeah,
So
that I do understand. My cat, I would talk to her, and she would talk back, and she would actually audibly talk back. Max, I could hear him on occasion, like intuitively, but
right,
it wasn't a. My mom's dog Molly, um, I never really heard her, but you could just see expressions in her face, and
right.
and it's very interesting because what do you think are some of the things that animals come forward and talk about as far as they're human, so to speak? Like, what are some of the things that human beings miss when they're interacting with their companions?
What the humans miss about the dogs, or what
The
they're
dog,
the pets.
the dog or the cat or whatever. What are the things that humans that miss? Because I'm sure there's quite a bit.
I think a lot of people miss having them sleep with them at night. A lot of humans miss the cuddling side of it. But I think when the pets come back though to want to connect, like when the humans want to connect with their one on the other side, there's usually a lot of questions: are they okay, and are they mad at me about the way that they passed? Especially if it was it was an accident, or they were sick, or they had to like they were done, they were ready. And the pets always say it was our time. There's never any blame, there's never any guilt from them, or any sadness or anger towards the human in any way, because they understand that the human had to do what they had to do.
Gotcha.
So I mean,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because I mean, like especially if you had to euthanize them or whatever, you would want to have to, there's probably some guilt around that, and that kind of stuff. So, but what I was kind of getting at is like, what are some of the things that, well, especially like, let's say that somebody has a pet or a dog or somebody else, that's not necessarily intuitive. What are some things that they could look for as far as signs about, even being able to connect stronger with their pets?
oh, okay, yeah. Like one of my favorite things is to tell people to look at their dog, not stare them down, but look at their dog like in their eyes, and then blink at them, and then have the dog blink back. And it's kind of like this. It's like you're opening the door to communication. And once you start, like your pet will blink at you, and you blink back and forth. You can make kind of a game of it, but what I have found works really well is that you can start with yes or no questions, like, are you thirsty? If you're thirsty, blink at me, and if they blink, then you're like, okay. So like I started doing this with my dog Zoe, because she loved to go in and out all day long, and it would really drive me a little nuts, which is a short trip, because I'm already there. So but especially like at night, I'm putting the kids to bed, everybody's really pulling on me to do stuff, and she would be like, let's go outside. So I was trying to say, are we going outside because we need this, or what? So I started this blinking thing with her. Do you need to go potty? And then she would blink. And then I would just instantly get up and then open the door so she could go potty, right? But if it wasn't that, then I could be like, are you hungry? Do you need some water? And blink at me if you need water. So then it cut down on some of the guessing, and not just open, close, open, close, open, close all day. So, but it's a good thing to teach people that they can really do that with their own pets.
So maybe they're not even wanting to go outside, they're just wanting to get some water, or they're hungry or something like that.
Right, exactly. They want a treat, they want peanut butter. Most dogs want peanut butter like all the time. So,
I know, that's how I used to trick Max into getting us taking his medicine.
Oh, right, yes.
And so it's funny because my other dog, she would just lick the medicine around the peanut butter around the medicine.
That's what Zoe does. It makes me like so frustrated. I finally have to like stick it in something and then like douse it in peanut butter. But actually, I have it so that I have the peanut butter piece, and then that has the medicine in it, and then the other piece that is just empty. So I have to like feed them to her at the same time, and then she'll take them. So, but yes, it's the most annoying thing. She's smart. I love her to death, but she knows how to make me crazy.
Molly used to be able to break out of kennels. I went through 7 in the 14 years that I had her.
Oh my gosh.
And then she would use Max and all of his muscle. She would test fences. And then she would be like, you'd literally see her point at something with her nose. And basically she was communicating how he can open up the fence. And then he'd get outside of the fence and he'd be like, wait, Daddy's in there. I don't want to go anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Right. What am I doing over here? We had a horse that would do that.
Look what you did to me.
Exactly. Yes.
So we have a
Yeah.
comment here. I love this information. I'm sending this to my granddaughter. I know she can become an animal healer. She's always connected well to animals. It's something that was something I wanted to talk to you about. I've always had that too, like especially with dogs and cats. Especially with dogs, they would follow me around. All the strays would follow me when I was a kid, and I'm sure that there are certain people that just happens with. The animals just naturally gravitate to them. They might recognize their kindness or their energy or something like that, but they also probably recognize with you. I don't know if that happened to you when you were a kid. They probably recognize this one can probably hear me if she tried.
Right? Yeah. I just didn't know it. I mean, I just really didn't. I mean, I saw like when I was 5, I saw my first being or whatever, but as we get older, or like our parents might say that that's not really there, that kind of thing like that. So it's sort of like we lose that, right? But I mean, I think the horses that we had, seemed to always just sort of know, and I just sort of knew. So yeah, I think it's very much like they sort of push you into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. So I know you do more than just mediumship, because you actually work with I've seen you work with people that have pets that are alive. And so I have a lot of friends that go, exactly what because you mentioned horses, where horses can be somewhat difficult if the person is not paying attention to them, because they're such a large animal. And there's the whisperers that I know, they go and they work with these horses, and of course they get frustrated.
Yeah.
One of the first times Max met my friend Virginia, he actually ran up and said, "He's mean to me." And he had only had him about a year at that point in time, and he was mad because 2 weeks earlier I had a party, and he used to get so rambunctious, since I had friends that were in their 80s, and he would want to get up on his hind legs and hug them, and I wouldn't let him do that, and because I was afraid he was going to knock this lady over, and so I made him get in his kettle, and he was mad at me.
Aw, poor guy. They don't always understand.
Yeah, well, it's just part of, any time when I was younger, I used to get in trouble too.
Yes, right, exactly. Go to your house,
Yeah, and so go to your bed, and he'd be like, "No, I don't want to."
Right, exactly. You can't make me. Actually, I can.
And because I am actually, you're big, but I'm bigger than you.
That's right. For sure.
So kind of gets back to kind of my question is that human beings, no matter how much they love their companions, we kind of get caught up in our lives. We even miss things parents even miss things that their children are trying to express to them and stuff.
Yes, right.
So, or their loved ones are trying to express to them. So what are some things that, I know we mentioned the blinking and stuff like that, what are some things that maybe that we could do to kind of connect with our pets a little bit more, pay attention to them? There's got to be some things like, if they're not feeling good, or they need you to leave them alone, they need their alone time.
Yes, actually, no, I did talk to a dog one time that it was during kind of the quarantine, like COVID or whatever, and she really liked her alone time. And her parents kept wanting to take her on a walk, but she just kept getting more mad at them. So she asked, the mom asked me, what is her problem? She used to love walks. And she said to me, I just wish my parents would leave me alone. Can't they go back to work? Like one walk a day is fine for me. I don't need any more of this stuff. Like she wanted her alone time, and she was over it.
So she was used to the time that they were at work.
Right, exactly. Oh, when they're off work, they get the one walk. That's fine. She knew where we were going to go. She was like, I don't want to go 6 times a day. Forget it. Yeah.
And they were going because they were bored.
And they were bored. Right, exactly. So I was thinking what you had said about, wanting to connect with them more. Obviously, a lot of times they just really want your time. They want your time, and they want you to be with them. But be with them in a way that, again, everybody knows their own pet. They know whether they think they know or they think that they can't talk to them, they know. It's like your kids. You know what makes your kids happy, even when they're babies. You just seem to know, you know. Um, but meditating with your pet is always fun, and or uh, listening to music. There's a lot of like things like the binaural beats and or the there's even like music for just for pets that really is helpful, and it they like it. It feels good on their body. If you do Reiki, even if you don't do Reiki, but just putting your hands on your pet, but picturing like light or saying like positive thoughts to your dog or to your cat, any way that you can really connect with them, like through their heart, in a way that you know that they would love. And if it's like belly rubs, or if it's a riding in the car, or so that you take time out of doing the everyday, and just like stopping and really looking at them and seeing them. I know that I get into these places where I just go and go and go, and then it's my dogs are looking at me like, when are you going to stop? When are you going to stop? And they'll just sit, like Zoe will just sit and look at me like she stares me down. But I know better than to stare at her down, because that's, the respect thing or whatever. But she's asking me to stop in her way and to just look at her and to connect.
It's funny you should say that, because I used to have, I used to work all the time, constantly busy, or I was doing something, and of course, they would be laying next to me in my bed. I'd have my 6-pound cat, my 125-pound dog, one on either side of me, and they were best friends. And so she actually passed away when she was 21, and
Wow.
so he would chase every cat except for her, and I think that's just because of her age. And but they would do this thing where I'd have my laptop working on my laptop or whatever, and they'd want my attention. So she'd come and lay across the keyboard, and I'd be like, Nitwit, good Lord. And I'd push her off. And then Max would once she was off, he'd lay his head across the keyboard. And I'm like, fine.
Right? Yeah, for sure. It's their way. They know when we need a break. So, and we have a tendency, I think, as humans, to push ourselves harder than we need to. And that's part of their job, is to help us be aware of when we need a break. And there is a fine line, especially as pets become more of like a one-on-one companion. There are times that there are pets that take on too much of our stuff. Like, part of their job is to be helpers, to take on some of our stress, take on some of our energy. That's why they are a companion. But there is those fine lines where they take on too much. And that's when you need to help your pet, like, detox. And that's when those deep breathing and trying to get yourself more calm can help your pet to be more calm as well. But they know us better than we know ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, they definitely do, and they know how to slow down, because they spend, while we're at work, they spend the whole day. I heard somewhere that they spend 60% of the time we're gone sleeping, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
Ooh, you guys have got it rough.
Yeah, the poor thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And some dogs have a real hard time with it. Like, they. I've talked to some dogs that want like a timer, they have a super hard time with it. So like they know that, especially if it's a short amount of time. I worked with one dog that was just kept we would rip up everything until his human came home. And so I said, what if we gave you a timer? She put like a timer like on the microwave, and so that when it beeped, then she would be home within like a 10 or 15 minute increment. And he really liked that. He thought that was a great idea. Whereas other pets have no concept of time. They have, in their world, they think you have just left, and that you're right as you open the door, you've only been gone a few minutes. It depends kind of like I've said before, that the spirit is very much like us. It's just that they walk on 4. And depending on how evolved they are, means how well they pay attention to time. Some dogs, cats have no concept of time.
It's interesting you should say that, because when Max was younger, he would tear everything up. He even tore Damien's. If he's watching, he's probably gonna say, "That's right." He tore Damien's like $200 diesel shoes, and so he was not very happy about that. So, But one of the things that I noticed about Max is that I used to play. I used to put the Cartoon Network on for him on the television, and I'd always come home. He'd be on my bed watching Scooby Doo as I got home, which was really funny.
That's good. I love it when dogs watch TV.
But as he got older, he didn't necessarily need that. He just, and my roommates that had lived with me, they're like 10, 15 minutes before you're going to be home. He goes and he lays right next to that door because he just, I guess, just got used to my habits. And they're like, if you don't come home every half an hour, he's back and forth from your bedroom to the door, from your bedroom to the door. Like, where is he? What's going on?
That's right, exactly.
And if I didn't go to bed on time, because I used to be up till 2 or 3 in the morning, he'd go to bed around 11, and then he would walk out about every hour to 2 hours and be like, "What are you doing?"
Right? What are you still doing here? We're supposed to be going to bed.
It makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that stress when they have their dogs and that are stressed at home, and some of it's like storm anxiety. Like Molly had a storm anxiety, so
yeah.
There wasn't even the thunder shirt didn't work for her.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. Yeah, that's when some of those, like the megahertz, the binaural beats, the solfeggio frequencies.
Does that help with that?
It does help a lot with dogs with anxiety and during storms. It can be really helpful.
Because what is it about the storm? Is it the loud noise?
It's the loud noise, and it's a shock every time because they don't understand. In some ways, they don't understand how the Earth works and how it's so many miles away. So it's a surprise every time. It's kind of like people who have either lots amounts of anxiety, or if they have like the PTSD, where loud noises are so startling. So it's that they're so startled every time.
Yeah, because they would fireworks, everything, like the smallest little thing. It's like an alter ego went in her brain. It wasn't even her as a person or a dog, and she ripped up an entire door one time.
Oh my gosh!
And I got a picture. Damien had sent me a picture and said, "So half the door's gone."
Gosh.
And I'm like, oh, great.
The things they do, man. Well, that's another thing they do to get our attention is, especially if we're really in our own zone, they'll destroy things. That's when they'll start peeing in the house and pooping in your shoes and ripping up stuff and destroying things in the house.
Get you to pay attention to them.
Pay attention to me. Yeah. You're not taking me for a walk. I'm bored out of my skull.
I'm bored out of my skull.
That's right.
Oh, I get the funny thing about having animals for me. I don't know if you get this, is their personality just crack me up. Well, people's
oh my gosh,
crack me up, but dogs just kill me. He peed on a woman's leg once.
Oh my gosh!
And because I was having a tough conversation with her, she's got all of her Chanel on, and he literally walks up behind her. He's playing with her dog, walks up behind her, pees on her leg, and then goes and plays again. I'm like,
right? I know, that's like children. It's like, when your child says something really outlandish and you're like, oh my God, swallow my bowl, please. That was not my child.
I can totally, I'm so sorry. I can pay for your dry cleaning. She goes, no, I'll go home and clean, because it was before she had to go to work too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There was this, one of my favorite stories about talking about, goofy things that dogs say, or dogs and cats and what they say. And was this one dog and cat, they hated each other. And there's plenty of cats and dogs that get along fine. But the cat hated the dog and the human was like beside herself. She couldn't figure it out. So the dog says, I said, okay, well, let's talk to the dog first. Let's figure out what the problem is. And he says, I just really want to play with the cat. And I was like, so what's wrong with that? And then the cat pipes in and says, ask him how he wants to play with me. And so I said, well, how is it that you want to play with me? Play with her or whatever. He goes, I want to throw her up in the air. And he goes, like a seal, and he was like, that's how you play with cats. That's why they always land on their feet. It's because you're supposed to throw them up in the air and then they land on their feet. That's what he thought. That's how you were supposed to play with cats, was to throw them up in the air.
And she's like, leave me the hell alone.
Right, exactly. The cat was like, no way in hell, you're not throwing me up. but like he just kept throwing her up into the air like a ball, and that he said, well, you don't have to worry about her hurting herself because they always land on their feet. That's how you're supposed to play with them. Oh my God. It was like the best ever. I was like, you just can't make this shit up. I mean, you just can't.
So what happened after that?
So what happens after that? Well, I kept trying to explain to him, that's not how you play with them. Like, and he's like, I don't understand. Why can't you play with them like that? And I said, well, one, that's not going to be. What if I threw you up into the air? And he said, you can't do that. I don't land on my feet. I mean, we went round and round about this, and
So
finally, right. So finally, I was like, okay, so if you want to have any relationship with this cat, you're going to have to like meet her at her level, and so I said, do you want to have a relationship with the dog? And she said, well, I'll tolerate the dog, but the dog just has to know he can't throw me up in the air. And I said to the cat, I said, do you really think that he could pick you up and throw you up into the air? I mean, he would I get it that he's big, but he would really, you're kind of big too. So that would be like a big thump to come down as. And she goes, no, I guess he really couldn't pick me up like that. So I said, would you guys be willing, to like work it out, to just be, at least you could be civil with each other. And so, yeah, they were willing to try. Once the dog finally figured out that was not something that was actually acceptable, and once the cat figured out that was actually not something feasible, then they kind of sort of were able to get it out. At least they were more tolerable, and it was less stressful on the human. But I did explain to them both that it was super stressful on the human. And since they loved their mama, they were willing to work it out. But yes, that was the best story ever, was one of the best ones that I have worked with, was that.
So yeah. Nitwit used to put her head in Max's mouth. Not him put his mouth over her head. Her stick her head in its mouth. And I'd be like, okay, he's a klutz and she's 6 pounds.
Right.
So he's gonna jerk his head or something like that.
There goes the cat.
She's gonna snap her neck or something like that. Never happened. When he found out when he was a puppy and he had her backed into a corner and she couldn't really run, she did the old lady shuffle. That's when he realized that, oh, she's not something to play with. She's something to cuddle with. So they would literally cuddle every day. She'd get in between his big legs and keep herself warm, and I'd just be like, this is so weird, because he chased the other cat. The other cat got terrorized.
Right? Well, it's like people and personalities. Some people you click with, some people you don't. It's the same thing, some dogs each other their friends, and some of them they're really not. And the same with, cats and dogs and hedgehogs, and it's just personalities.
So how do people find you? What's your website? It's in the description, by the way, just so you guys know.
I am thecrazyredhairedlady.com.
And then you're on Facebook as well.
And I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook group, the Crazy Red Haired Lady group, and I have a business page, because I had both. It was kind of strange. Like, apparently the business page sort of was getting hidden. And so I created the group so that one would pop up, so that then people could find me that way. So sometimes you can find the business page and sometimes you can't, but you can always find the group. So I was like, okay, well, that's great. So, yeah.
And she posts lots of funny videos of her in a dinosaur uniform or dinosaur costume.
Yes, I do.
They're mowing the lawn, scary.
Mowing the lawn. Yeah, I love those dinosaur costumes. And I told my husband I wanted one for Christmas, so he got me one. And it was the best thing ever. So, yeah, we got to get some new ideas going. I walked the dog once in it, and Zoe thought it was the best thing ever. And then our other dog, Lola, was terrified of it. So she was like, "No, lady, I don't know what that is, but no." And I did some yard work in it, and I chased the kids off the bus. That was fantastic. That was really good. I'll have to find that video for you. Yeah, it was the last day of school.
If I had kids, I would do something embarrassing, like drop them off, my teenagers off at school, and say, "Have a good day at school, dear."
Oh no, that's me. That's me. It's my prerogative as a parent. They drive me crazy as teenagers, so I get to do fun things like that. So yeah, I chased them off the bus, and that was super fun. And it was hot. That thing was hot, because it's got a blower inside of it. And that's what makes it inflated. And
Right.
so, it's like 80, 90 degrees outside. I'm sweating to death while I'm chasing my children down the street. And my my daughter yells, "Peter, help!" So yeah, it was really quite funny.
That's hysterical. So they find you at your website, and obviously you're available for sessions.
Yes,
I
yes.
know you have products on your website as well, different
Yes.
things you sell. So definitely go and check out her website, which is down in the description. And any last thing that you would like to tell everybody about before we kind of wrap up the show tonight? Any last wisdom or?
Of course. Now you want to ask me to come up with something really profound. Thanks there. Why was this at the beginning when I was trying to think of something great? I guess the thing to remember is that when you have a pet in your life, that it is a relationship. It is a give and take. If you want their behavior to change, then you have to change your behavior as well. And it just takes a conversation, whether, you have an animal communicator, someone in your area, or you come and find me. It just is usually just a give and take. They want to help, but they don't always know how. And so they get confused, and it's just talking it out. And once you talk it out, then they'll be like, "Oh, that's what you wanted. Okay, why didn't you say so?" But it is definitely, and the relationship that you can have with your pet is just like one that you'll never forget, and it will teach you so much about yourself and about the world.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was great to have you on the show, and everybody thanks for tuning in. Next week, I will have my friend Donna Campbell on the show, and she is coming back from Belize. So that should be a really great show, and we'll be talking about her work. And so every week, Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, we're on here for about 30, 40 minutes, somewhere around there. So anyways, we will tune in next week, and much love, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.